everything that I'm going to show you is online, so you can get to it later. I could talk for many hours about services that we have for you, and you wouldn't remember any of it. And so I'm just going to show you where everything is, and then I'm going to highlight a few of those things, and then I'm actually going to walk you through something if you haven't already done it. Okay, so if you want to get to the library website, just remember they always put us at the bottom, okay? So if you're at my.greenville, we're at the bottom. If you're at greenville.edu, we're at the bottom, unless you want to go through a lot of layers. So at the bottom of greenville.edu, we're over on the left. You can get there that way. If you're at my.greenville, we're on the bottom left also. So this is the library website. You know you're there if you can see the front of the library at night. And most of our resources you can get to through our homepage. So it's divided into 4 sections. If you're wanting to find resources, you go to the Find section. If you're wanting to know how to do something, it's in the How-To section. Help, and I'm going to come back and do a lot with that one. And then About the library. So it's real straightforward, but it's where you begin. And you've got hours over here. You've got a quick catalog search. We have a chat service, so if I leave this up for a little while during our reference hours, it's going to pop up and ask if you have a reference question or if you need help. So obviously, if you're wanting to find articles, you go here. We have a number of article databases. I'm not going to talk you through those. If you want to know what we have that would be best for your area, you can contact one of us. Finding books gets you to the book catalogs, reference sources, and so on. Under reliable websites, we have links to the Purdue OWL for formatting. So if you want your students to use the Purdue OWL Chicago manual, Purdue OWL MLA, APA, we have links for those there. We do not have a campus citation software program like some campuses have in Node or something. So most, in the past, I don't know what your practice is, Courtney, but in the past our English faculty usually taught them to use the Purdue OWL. So that's why we ended up with it on our website. We do have a lot of research guides by subjects. And if there's a research guide you would like to have for your particular major or for a particular class, we do sometimes. It's better if we can do it by major, but if you need one for a class, talk to me or to Gail Heidemann, who's our other librarian, and we can work with you on that. And then the last thing under Find, we do have some streaming videos. We dropped one of our subscriptions because it just wasn't being used very much. But Alexander Street has some subject video, streaming video collections that we have 6 collections in that. And then in the library catalog, you can search for videos as well. Those would not be streaming. Those would be hard copies. Okay, under Help, you've got Ask a Librarian, which tells you how to contact us by email, by phone, and there's a chat box there. Okay. Over on the How-To section, these mostly relate to using our catalog and requesting books from other places and how to set up an account and how to renew. And I'm going to come back to setting up an account and then about the library. But we're going to spend the rest of the time on this Faculty Services under Help. So if you want to click on that one, it's going to open another tab, and it takes you to a multi-tabbed guide to services that we provide for faculty. So we've got our hours there again. Got my silly picture, you've got chat, we stick chat on there lots of places. But if we go across the tabs, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but each one is going to give you suggestions about using that resource or explain what that service is. So under article databases, it just talks to you about how to search our databases. One thing that you need to know is that the number on your ID card is like your entrance to everything library. So Matt and John know this really well because they have used the catalog for a long time. But everything related to the library goes through that number. And if you are not getting in, it's probably because you're not entering your number correctly, or we don't have your number and name correctly in our database. So if you are wanting to access article databases from off campus, you have to use that number, and I'll come back and talk about that number more. There's information under borrowing materials about, I talk again about the library ID number, but checkout periods, we have a longer checkout period for you for our materials. You get 12 weeks with 3 renewals. Things from other places, we can't control the checkout periods. So you're gonna get 3 weeks probably or 4 weeks with 3 renewals. So it's gonna work out to 12 weeks if you do all your renewals. Catalogs, this is where you go to look for books and other borrowable materials, not articles. So you want to start at the top and work your way down. Library catalog is going to tell you what we have. iShare is your treasure trove. If you haven't discovered it, it's a collection, it's a shared catalog for over 80 primarily academic libraries in the state of Illinois. So all the big ones, the state ones are a part of it. So it actually has over 13 million items in it. Your students can't say that they can't find anything on their topic for the most part because they have access to this collection. So it's a shared catalog. That means that library ID number on your ID card allows you to check things out, to request them remotely, and they'll be driven here. This is the archaic part of this system, that there are these couriers who come to our library Monday through Friday. They drive vans typically, and they bring in these tubs that are sorted, have these purple packs in them, and they're sorted by libraries. So we'll get packs today from a bunch of other libraries in the state that are a part of iShare, and they'll be routed here through this van delivery system that travels around the state. And as soon as something you request in iShare is checked in here, actually I shouldn't say as soon as, I think it's like around midnight, you'll get an email that says it's available for you to pick it up. Bring some form of picture ID to the circulation desk and they'll check it out to you, and then you are responsible for that item from that point on until you return it. And that means you have to renew it, you have to return it here or to another iShare library. Until it's checked back in at an iShare library, you're responsible for it. And if you get an overdue from another iShare library, you have to deal with them on that. Now the exception is, I worked with a faculty member on Monday who got a bill for a book from North Park University, and he said, I really think I returned this. And so most of the time we're not right. I mean, I include myself in that. Most of the time we're not right when we think we returned things and the system works, but this particular time I looked it up and it was checked in, it was available at the other place. So I just called them and said, hey, can you check your shelf because it says it's available. We didn't have a record of returning it, so it slipped through. But it doesn't normally slip through our end and their end, and that one had. So his account was cleared. So anyway, that's iShare. It's a tremendous resource. And so if you have like 5 or 6 lost books from another iShare library, they can put a block on you that we can't take off. But that's fair. We can do it to their people too. And we have rarely put a block on anybody. But I have seen, and these tend to be faculty, let me tell you, I have seen fine bills that have added up to more than $500. So you have to pay attention. You can do all of your 3 renewals when you get something and know that you're going to be able to have it for 12 weeks and not have to worry about it. But another cool thing is I get emails reminding me that something's going to be due next week. And so I just leave that email in my box and remind myself I got to renew that or it's going to become overdue. If they put a lost designation on it, it's still worth your time to go in and renew it, because if they label it lost, then the next step is that they're going to add a processing fee. If you return the book, they'll waive the lost book fee because they got the book back. That's always the best case scenario for a library, to get the physical item back. That's the cheapest, that's the least work, so that's what we want to have happen. But that processing fee, not all libraries will waive, because they've had to do work to process the billing and all of that. So even if it's got a lost status applied to it, it's still worth renewing it so that you get rid of that processing fee, if it's possible. Okay, under catalogs, we also have an ebook collection. At this particular moment, we have like over 170,000 electronic books, and I think that probably 90% or more are in our catalog. It's hard to know for sure, but we have been in the process of getting our most recent collection of those added, and I think they're pretty close. If not today, they should be there by the end of the week.
But those tend to be books that were written in the last 10 years.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, you wouldn't find that old book.
Well, you might, because some collections, some publishers just throw in old stuff because it's no longer copyrighted and it takes up their numbers, so it makes the collection look a lot bigger than it is. We have several religion ebook collections that we've gotten good deals on as part of a consortium, and so they tend to slip, whenever you buy a package, publishers tend to slip in some old things to pad the numbers. Publishers are underhanded scoundrels, and you can quote me on that. They are out to survive, as we all are these days, but they charge us more money in most cases for ebooks than print books. And they pad collections with things that they've gotten cheaply or for free. Yeah, they're from multiple platforms. We try to limit it to like 3 platforms so that our patrons don't have to learn 800 different ebook ways to use things. Most of them you're going to be able to view just online PDF. Some of them you can actually download too, which is more of a pain. And then they're limited to 1 person at a time if you go ahead and check it out. But we have ebooks in the collection that we have physically purchased ourselves, and we have ebooks that we have through iShare. There's a group of iShare libraries that are called CARLI, C-A-R-L-I, the Consortium of Academic and Research Libraries of Illinois. So sometimes you'll find an ebook that says CARLI ebook. That's one that we have because we're a part of the consortium, and it will ask you, if you want to view it, it will ask you to put in your ID number and choose your library, Greenville College. So yeah, did I answer your question?
Yes. Yep.
There are multiple things. And a huge number of them are part of, I decided to spend $4,500 this year of my book money. We're trying to increase the amount of the book budget that we spend on ebooks every year. And so I decided to take about $5,000 this year and do a subscription. And so that has probably 100,000 of those titles that are part of an EBSCO academic collection. So that's a subscription. if we don't get high enough usage on that, I won't renew that for next year. So that's something I'm trying to monitor throughout the year. I get monthly stats on it. So most of them, well, not most of them, until this year, they've all been purchases, except for the ones we have through the consortium. Those are purchases for the consortium. But then I also have some that are just a year subscription. That'll end at the end of June. Yeah. So if there are things ebooks that you find that you really like that you don't want to have disappear, I'd be really interested in knowing that so I can make sure they don't disappear if possible. Okay, and then we have this world catalog. You may have heard it called OCLC. So it's sort of, you try our catalog, then you try iShare, then you try World Catalog. World Catalog things are harder to get. They're from throughout the world. Sometimes we won't be able to get them because only one library in the world owns them. So you sort of go through this progression with ebooks not being part of the hierarchy. You can try the ebook thing anytime you want.
You're gonna have a longer delivery time in the World Catalog.
Longer delivery time, typically shorter checkout period. Okay, back up here we have clickers that the Center for Teaching and Learning has supplied for all of you. You check those out from the circulation desk and there's more information about those there. If you want to embed or if you want to have your students use an article, and it's an article that we have through, it's not open access on the web. If you can find it in one of our databases, we give you instructions here about how to put links into D2L. So if you're coming from an EBSCO database, these are the steps you follow. The safest thing for copyright compliance is to provide a link rather than put the PDF into D2L. Now, if we physically own it, there are some collections that we physically own, then you can put it in there. Or if you scan it yourself from something we have in print, you can put it there. You can embed the whole video as well. And so I've got instructions for how to embed a link to an Alexander Street video or how to embed the whole video or a section of the video as well. Okay, going across quickly. We provide instruction to classes, information literacy or fluency, whatever you want to call it. So we have, in the past, we have been a part of the Gen Ed curriculum in COM 101, in Core 101, and in English 105, and then several upper division classes spread throughout majors. Because you guys are revising COM, I'm not really sure what's going on with that one right now, but if your students have been in either Core 101 or English 105, they've been introduced to using our book and our article resources. That's what we focus on. It's more in-depth than English 105. If you want to recommend materials for purchase for the library collection, basically this explains that, but you go through your department chair.
And departments have like
an allocation. Yeah. I added print, scan, and copy because Mark just asked me a question about this week. I'm not going to go over that though. Research assistance. I want to make clear that we are here to help you. So we're here to help your students. Feel free to send your students for research assistance, but if you are having a hard time finding something yourself, you can contact us as well, and there are multiple ways to do that. I talked about the research guides before, instructional videos. You can use those with your students, you can use them with yourself. We do put materials on reserve for your classes, and if we had a copy of any of your texts, we tried to put those on reserve. If you want to bring things in, personal copies, we can put those on reserve as well. We can tell you, we can't tell you who is checking them out, but we can tell you how many times they've been checked out. Who is checking them out violates privacy, so we can tell you how many times they've circulated. We have small group study rooms you can schedule, and I've already talked about streaming video, and then our contact information is here. I want you to go to the Greenville College Library Catalog, and it should look like this. And I've got mine enlarged, so let me make it smaller. In the top right, you should see login. And you haven't ever created an account, so under the login boxes, create new account. If you get lost, let us know, we can help you. And then you fill in this information. The hard part is going to be the borrower number, borrower ID. That's off your ID card. All 14 digits, no spaces. Make the username and password something that you use somewhere else, because we don't know what you set it up as. We can't help you with that. You just have to tell it you forgot it if you don't know. It has to be a unique username in the iShare system. So if you click on checked out items, have you checked anything out from us yet?
Yes.
What you checked out should be there. So you can renew it right there. If you do any requests from other places, they'll show up in the same list. You can renew them there, and they'll be sorted by school that they're from. Go back into your requests list, Courtney. It should say requests, look at requested items. Yeah, so the status says request submitted. Whenever they send it, it'll say in transit. When it gets here, it'll say on hold. But you should get an email also telling you that it's here. Yeah.
Well, it's, all of you have had this experience, lots of teaching experience with students who want to claim that they can't find resources, and you just need to call them on that. There is something out there on their topic, and it's a lot better than what they found, certainly on the web. And you need to push them hard to look for things. You need to recognize, particularly if you're teaching the upper division classes, if they come whining to you about how to find something. Well, they've all had like 6 to 8 hours of training in different classes on how to do it. And when they say they can't, they can't. You need to push hard. And obviously some of them can't. And work with them, and direct them back to the librarians for help. But there's just an amazing range of resources for students to use as they're doing their research that they need to do. And don't think, oh, we're just a little place and we don't have the resources for them. No, they have an amazing array of things, and you can't let them wimp out with just really bad Google searches as their method for finding.
Let me highlight, to tag on to that, under research assistance, it's really helpful for us if you're giving them an assignment that involves information gathering. If they're going to have to use library resources, if you send us a copy of the assignment, we will keep it at the reference desk, and then we will understand what you're asking for, because by the time we get their interpretation of what you're asking for, and they've gotten that from their friend, it's quite distorted. So it's helpful for us to see your research assignments. We keep a folder of those at the reference desk.
And I need to be careful about this. Jen mentioned that they do library instruction, lots of upper division classes. Right now they're pretty severely understaffed, so I'm not sure how many more classes they're going to be able to get into. But one thing that I found helpful when I first started teaching here is, there was one particular upper division class, and I wanted to make sure, okay, this is a course where I'm going to make sure my students know how to do X. And I developed a working relationship with the librarian. I think that's a really great place to develop kind of a long-term working relationship, is around one course, one assignment, that you keep working with each other, making it better and better, and life's happier for you and your students. So you want them to know 2 things. Remember your ID number. Can't remember it, make sure it's on your body at all times. And then that amazing array of helpful tabs up there. And how in the world would I get to that? Because I have no idea where that page came from,
If you want to sit down one-on-one with a librarian, you can make an appointment too.